This episode of the Trek Geeks Podcast is brought to you by our brand new podcast, Talking Trek. That's right, Star Trek Discovery is coming soon, and we're proud to launch this very special companion podcast in May 2017. Join us every week as we examine and analyze every episode, character, story arc, and more from the brand new Star Trek series coming to CBS All Access this spring. For more information and to join our mailing list, please visit talkingtrek.net.
Hi, this is Nana Visitor, Major Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine, and you are listening to the biggest little show this side of the Gamma Quadrant, the Trek Geeks Podcast with Bill Smith and Dan Davidson.
The biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant, and of 2017. Welcome, everyone, to the Trek Geeks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith. Happy New Year to you all. As we record this, it's New Year's Day. And so I've got coffee. My illustrious co-host has coffee. And let's bring him in at this point. He's about as good on the microphone as Mariah Carey on New Year's Eve. He is the train wreck known as Dan Davidson. Dan, all aboard, buddy! Woo-hoo.
That's not a good comparison whatsoever. It's a train wreck lately. But thank you. Happy New Year. Awesome to be here as always, in person. So maybe not as awesome, but that's okay.
It's not as awesome for me, I can tell you that right off the bat.
The feeling is mutual.
Yeah, I feel nauseous.
It's all right. Well, it's going to get worse as we go along. Yeah, 2017, episode 88. No more Star Trek 50.
No more Star Trek 50,
but TNG 30.
TNG 30. It's a year where we get the 30th anniversary of Next Gen, we get Star Trek Discovery, we get who knows what.
Lots of good stuff.
Lots of great stuff.
Vegas.
Vegas is 220-something days away.
8 months, 3 days.
214 days.
There you go.
Not that I have a countdown on my phone or anything.
No, not.
No. Dan, if you would, why don't you regale the folks in our audience? Ooh. I know, right?
I'm regaling.
You're regaling. You are a regaler.
I'm not doing it as Mariah Carey, though.
Well, if you were, that would mean you're lip-syncing and not doing it well. But unlike her, you can hit the high notes. Oh. So why don't you roll your mellifluous tones into the contact info?
All right, yes. As always, on Twitter, Facebook, and Skype, our handle is Trek Geeks. And wait for it. You can send us an email at podcast@trekgeeks.com. Little new email address there.
I say that sounds different, Dan.
Yeah, there you go. See, we're always, mixing it up, making sure people are listening. So yes, podcast@trekgeeks.com. You can also call us at 508-784-1701 and even leave us a voicemail online at speakpipe.com/trekgeeks. Also, as you all may know by now, we have our official Facebook group, Camp Kittimer. A lot of good discussion going on, a lot of fun Trek discussion as always, new people coming in daily it seems. And Bill, I think you know that as a member of Camp Kittimer, people get early access to this here podcast.
Say what?
Yes, I know, Mariah Carey. Anyway, so to join the group, just go to facebook.com/groups/Camp Kittimer. We'll let you right in. And just please remember that any comments or messages that you leave us in these places may be used in a future episode. Bill, back to you.
Your high E leaves a little to be desired. I think you got to work on your tonal quality there. But other than that, well done, buddy.
Thank you.
Dan, we'd be remiss this week if we didn't acknowledge a huge development in the sci-fi universe. And I'm speaking, of course, of the passing of Star Wars actress and noted script doctor and author and producer Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, this week we're not just Star Trek fans, we're sci-fi fans, and it was a shocking story that developed that Friday, I believe, that she suffered a heart attack while on final approach to LAX, and Christmas Day, I believe, her mother, Debbie Reynolds, who unfortunately passed away the day after Carrie, tweeted out that Carrie was in stable condition but still in ICU, and then bam, that news that she passed away, I think it hit everybody like a sledgehammer.
You know, it's really weird because it's like a piece of our childhood being sort of ripped away from us.
Yep.
You know, it was so sudden and so, out of the blue that I don't think that a lot of people our age quite knew how to process it.
Yeah.
Obviously, she'd had various challenges over the years with, her mental health and also with addiction. But I think that in the last probably 10 years or so, she'd become a much bigger advocate for, getting clean and staying clean and also for improving mental health in this country.
Absolutely. She was hysterical to read on Twitter. She was sassy. She engaged with her fans. And you're absolutely right. The Star Wars came out when we were just kids and we grew up with A New Hope and Empire and Return of the Jedi. For those of you who have not seen Rogue One, I won't give any spoilers away, but there is a wonderful moment in that movie that I think any fan of Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia will really appreciate. And I'll just leave it at that. She will be missed. The entire sci-fi world certainly is in mourning. There's been a lot of Star Trek people that have been posting about Carrie. Such a tragic end. Too short, only 60 years old.
Way too short. That's young these days.
Yes, it is.
So, we can only hope that, her family is able to find some peace in all of this. She no longer has to battle those demons, whether they are her own mental health or whether the constant struggle with addiction and not falling prey to it. So our sincere condolences to them, and hopefully may the Force be with us all. Dan, it's time for the first TrekNews.net news in 2017. Wow. It's a good thing that we do this live.
I know, it's great. I did that on purpose.
That was
That's my Mariah Carey impersonation of the news.
That track went all the way to number 1. It's time for the news, of course, from our good friends at TrekNews.net. Online, you may not know this, at TrekNews.net.
.net. Absolutely.
.net. I don't want there to be any confusion out there. Dan, up first, whenever you and I take a holiday break, there's always some major news development.
Yes.
I say always, the second time we've done it.
Well,
last year, the Axonar lawsuit dropped.
Yes, it did. Still going. This year, Star Trek Discovery got its series lead like the day after we went on vacation. And it was awesome news. I got to say, this is the one we were thrilled with Doug Jones and we were thrilled with Anthony Rapp and everybody we've been pretty excited about.
Yeah.
This one blew my mind because I'm a Walking Dead fan. I like the show. Sonequa Martin Green, who plays Sasha on Walking Dead, has been cast as the lead for Star Trek Discovery. This is huge news. She will not be a captain. There has already been discussion that the lead of the series is not going to be a captain like in other Star Trek shows.
Right.
She is going to be a lieutenant commander on the USS Discovery when it launches on CBS All Access next spring. They have also discussed the fact that, no spoilers here for people who have not caught up on Walking Dead, she will be on Walking Dead at the same time, at least to start. So we can look forward to seeing her in May, and I am ecstatic about this casting.
I don't think they could have made a better choice. She has been fantastic on The Walking Dead. She had a much smaller part on The Good Wife on CBS, which she was great in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've really found an actress they can put the weight of this series on.
It's great.
I'm very excited. I can't wait for May.
Yeah, it's going to be great. First episode, of course, will be on CBS, and then it'll move to CBS All Access.
That's very true, Dan. And of course, our second podcast, our Star Trek Discovery Companion, Talking Trek, will debut at the very same time.
Oh, that's right. I better get started on that, huh?
Yeah. It's not like it's going to happen tomorrow. Let's put it off.
Okay.
Dan, up next in the news, it looks like TNG is going to enter the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, Picard's been working out.
He's always had guns, though. Come on.
Yes. The Mirror Universe, Mirror Broken is going to be the new miniseries that is going to launch from IDW Publishing. Little TNG Mirror Universe action going. This came out a couple weeks also while we were on holiday break a couple weeks ago. The cover of the first issue has been shown on treknews.net, and it shows Picard in his sleeveless tunic with guns bigger than your head.
That's pretty big.
That's pretty big.
I have a large melon.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Also, Data behind him as a Borg, half Borg at least, and quite a sultry-looking Deanna Troi standing behind the captain. So you know how I feel about the Mirror Universe, so I think it's pretty safe to say that this will be added to my digital comic book collection on free Comic Book Day on May 6th.
You might actually have to drag yourself down to your local comic book store on Free Comic Book Day and pick that bad boy up in print form.
It looks pretty good.
It does look pretty good.
Yep.
That the artwork on the covers is amazing, I have to admit.
It is good. And Picard with a goatee also is pretty nice. So yeah, check it out, folks. May 6th. Put it in your Starfleet calendar.
May is going to be a pretty big month in the Star Trek universe.
Why? What else is going on in May?
Nothing. And Dan, lastly in news this week, one of our favorite and most endeared people in the Star Trek universe had a big birthday this week.
84 years young, the wonderful, beautiful, and talented Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura, turned 84. And we are thrilled that she has been part of this Star Trek universe for 50 years. She is such a wonderful person at conventions, and she's always willing to sit and talk with folks. All of her interviews are always great. And 84 years young, it's really amazing when you think of it, how the cast of the original series is really getting up there in age, those that are still with us.
They really are. You know, when we were younger, we used to think of these people sort of trapped in that moment in time and in the original series. And now, if you look at Nichelle, she's just as amazing and wonderful as she was back then.
Yep.
You know, we loved her then. We adore her now. And I can only hope it was the happiest of birthdays. She's an absolute treasure.
She is absolute treasure. As everybody knows, back in the 60s, she broke down a lot of those racial stereotypes by being cast as Uhura. She continues to inspire generations of fans. And she actually wasn't going to do the show. As everybody knows, or most people know, she was not going to stay on board. But it was Dr. Martin Luther King who said, do it. She did it. She made history. And we're all the better for it.
Indeed. Dan, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, we ran a poll in our official Facebook group, Camp Kittimer.
We did?
We did.
No.
We did. I don't think neither of us voted in it.
No, we couldn't vote in it, no.
We wanted to sort of get the pulse of what, people in the group thought of were the biggest stories of 2016. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to look at today. Sort of the year in review, as it were, because a lot happened in 2016.
There was a lot of stuff going on in 2016. It was a great year. You want to go from the bottom up on what we had in there for polls? Because in the poll, we had a few things that you had initially listed, and we said for people to please put in whatever they thought was big in 2016. So there's not just our selections in there. There's some other ones in there as well that people added themselves.
Let me run through the bottom 5.
All right.
And then we'll take the rest of them and go in reverse order from there. How's that?
Excellent.
So I put out, like you said, a series of options. People added some others. So here were the bottom 5 vote getters. And this by no means is an indicator of what we think about those stories. We wanted to get the opinions of people who listen to the podcast and people who participate in Camp Kittimer.
Yes, yes.
So coming in at the bottom was the Roddenberry Vault.
Yes.
As a news story.
Which you got.
Which I did get for Christmas, and I love.
I haven't gotten it. But I ordered it yesterday.
Will it be at your house by today?
It'll be there when I get home on Wednesday.
Nice. Nice.
Yes.
The next one up from there is 2 new Star Trek Continues episodes.
Excellent.
Which I thought was very big this year.
Yes.
For reasons we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing quality Star Trek, great stories. We were there for 2 of those shooting days.
Yeah, we were.
And it was kind of neat to see that sort of come to life.
Yep.
At least the parts that we were there for, because we didn't know the rest of it.
Exactly. We only had a certain... We were there. We were lucky. We were there for the bridge shooting both days.
Oh, I know. That was like a dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just getting as many votes as that was STLV 50.
Mm-hmm. That surprised me.
Which, yeah, that surprised me too, but I think it's because there wasn't a whole lot new at STLV 50.
True.
It was a great time, don't get me wrong, but it's not like there was, announcements or anything to do with Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, really.
I think maybe if some of that had happened, it would have ranked a little higher.
Agreed.
Beating that out just by a bit was Fan Film Guidelines from CBS, which are tied to one of our larger stories.
Yes, it is.
Star Trek Horizon.
Yes.
Which was phenomenal. Tommy did such a great job with that.
He did.
Those are the bottom 5.
Okay.
We're going to throw in as an honorable mention the For the Love of Spock documentary, which you finally saw.
Yes.
And I saw.
Yep.
And you liked more than I did.
I liked, but I didn't love.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Adam did a great job. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, he did.
And it was such a wonderful look at his dad from, a perspective that we don't normally get.
I agree with that. I was looking for a little bit more Leonard, to be honest with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I was too. It turned out to be a little bit more of Leonard and Adam, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think it's what any of us figured was going to happen from the get-go.
Right. I have a feeling that, and again, Adam did a fantastic job, and we love what he has done. I have a feeling that Roddenberry Vault is going to blow me away.
I have a feeling you're right, just watching the documentary pieces.
Okay.
You're going to be like, what? So let's get into our bigger stories. And I'm going to start with the number 5, as voted by the folks in Camp Kittimer.
The Kittimerites.
The campers.
Okay.
Much easier to say.
I know, but it's fun.
Because we know how challenged you are with the English language.
Okay, the Campies. See?
That's just drink your coffee. Drink your coffee. Coming in at number 5, the casting news for Star Trek Discovery. And I have to agree that's a huge story this year.
Yes.
You figure in the last several weeks, the last month or so, we've seen 7 or 8 people announced for the series, including Sonequa Martin Green, which we talked about most recently. But you did mention we were excited. What aspects of the casting excited you the most?
I think Doug Jones, the casting of Doug Jones, was the one that really, I was like, oh my God, love him in Hellboy. He's been in so many, Pan's Labyrinth. I mean, he's known for his creature characters, I guess. The Strain, yes, the Strain. So Doug Jones was the one that I really was excited about. Before Doug Jones, Michelle Yeoh was cast. She's going to be the captain of the Shinzao, I believe, is the starship. So that was the first official casting that we had come out this year for Discovery. We also had Anthony Rapp was announced, and I got to tell you, he is so awesome to watch on Twitter. If you haven't followed him on Twitter, follow him. He's watching the entire Star Trek collection in preparation for being on Discovery, and it's pretty cool what he's tweeting about.
I think he's cherry-picking episodes right now.
Yes, but he'll be getting to everything.
Sorry, I hit the table.
I thought you hit me.
No, I want to hit you. Don't get me wrong. But, Anthony also has a baseball podcast.
I did not know that.
He does. It's called, I think it's called The Clubhouse.
Okay.
And yesterday I tweeted to him that he should watch Take Me Out to the Holosuites.
I saw that tweet. Okay, that's what that's in reference to.
Yeah, because it's just such a great episode. And being a huge baseball fan, I think he'd absolutely love it.
Cool.
I think the thing I liked the most about the Discovery casting is that right up front, we got 3 Klingons announced off the bat.
Yes.
And it's not like they're announced as guest stars. It seems like they're going to be regulars.
There's been no discussion of what is going to be happening in Discovery, this arc for the first season. We don't know. But we know that we're going to have Klingons. Shazid Latif and Chris Obi and Mary Chifo or Chifo. I'm not sure how to
Chifo, I'm not sure.
3 Klingons, female Klingon as a major character, which I think is fantastic. Very excited about all of this. Knowing that there's going to be a large Klingon arc, I think is very exciting, even though we don't know that for sure. Of course, with Mr. Fuller's departure, maybe we'll get some information as the show unfolds of maybe what he was thinking. If it goes a different route, we'll see. But that's a lot of cast members over the last several weeks announced. They start filming this month because it is January now.
It is January.
Yeah.
And that's so amazing to me. It's like, oh my God. So you figure set pictures, somebody's going to have some of those at some point. I imagine CBS is going to put some of them out there on social media. It's the first Star Trek series we've had in the advent of social media.
That's right. Enterprise was already gone by the time it really took off on social media.
Facebook was still in its infancy.
Yep.
So I have a feeling that that's going to be really exciting. I wish it were I wish it were May already.
I know. I got a lot of work to do for the podcast.
Well, I think we both do.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be great with the people they've brought on board already. Plus, you look at the people behind the camera.
Mm.
You know, I think that this has all of the makings of the next great Star Trek series.
And I'm looking forward to the positive reaction of things as stuff comes out, which has not always been the case with Discovery so far this year. These announcements of cast has finally started turning the tide, so to speak, to positive reaction, especially on Twitter and Facebook. And I hope that continues. There's no reason to bash the hell out of it before it even...
Dan, the next story, number 4, as voted on by the campers in Camp Kittimer, unfortunately was the passing of Anton Yelchin this past summer before the premiere of Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
You know, this is one that, you know, that kind of hit us both really hard because we figured he was the youngest cast member of Beyond, and we certainly never expected anything tragic like this to happen.
And such a freak accident, too.
Yeah.
It just totally caught everybody by surprise right before the premiere. And it made watching his scenes in Beyond, which were great, really difficult to watch at times, especially at the end when Kirk talks about past friends or absent friends, and the camera immediately went to Anton, and I don't think that was done after the fact. That was just a coincidence, I believe.
That's very possible.
Yeah, it was really, really sad. And we had done the Leonard Nimoy Memorial as one of our first podcasts. It was a very difficult one to do, but it was one of our favorites. And this one was really tough as well. It was a sad day.
Yeah, it really was. You know, it's funny to go back and watch Beyond now and see that sort of interaction between Kirk and Chekhov.
Great scenes.
They really were. You know, I appreciated the way they put those two characters together in the film, because Chekhov he's older, you know, now in the arc, but he's still young. Right. He's still learning a lot. And he learns a lot from Kirk in this particular film.
He does.
It will be sad that we won't have Chekhov anymore in the JJ verse films. Sorry, the Kelvin timeline. I'm interested to see how they deal with his leaving the Enterprise. I wonder if he goes to the Reliant first, or maybe another ship.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad they're not recasting the role.
I am as well. I think what you touched on it a moment ago. I thought that those interactions with Kirk and Chekhov and Beyond were fantastic. As a matter of fact, I am of strong belief that if it wasn't for Chekhov being there, Kirk would have killed the girl who betrayed the Enterprise, the alien woman. I think he would have killed her. And I think it was Chekhov who stopped him from doing that. So he helped Kirk a little bit. We've talked about this a little bit. I'm very glad that they're not going to recast Chekhov. I'm hoping they bring somebody in like Anrex to take his position. That would be kind of interesting. Just the special effects part of it will be kind of cool. I need a third arm coming out of my chest.
It will be, but I almost can't see them doing it because that almost makes the animated series canon. And as we know, and as Jim Morehouse agrees...
Jim Morehouse.
It's not.
Please.
Hey,
Jim Morehouse.
Jim Morehouse knows more about Star Trek than you'll ever know, Mr.
I know, and I hate that.
Well, Dan, at the number 3 spot, and this is a story that we poke a lot of fun at now, maybe as a coping mechanism, I'm not entirely sure. The campers in Camp Kittimer named the Axanar lawsuit / debacle as the 3rd biggest Star Trek story of the year.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a year. It's been a year. And it is... Oh, it just gets me so pissed off when I think about it now. It just really does.
Well, I mean, let's look at the facts.
Yes.
A small percentage of Star Trek fans care about fan films.
Yes.
A small percentage of Star Trek fans even know about fan films. So we know going into it that it's not a topic that everybody has a vested interest in.
Agreed.
You know, we'll never know what Axanar could have been or would be, because it's never going to be made, because, as we discovered a few weeks ago in the unredacted documents, the money is gone.
Gone. Zip left. Zero.
$1.4 million donated by Star Trek fans either through crowdfunding campaigns or purchased merchandise, which is another problem. Gone. Evaporated. with only 4 minutes of a green screen walk and talk filmed outside to show for it.
That's right. It's mind-boggling to even think of all of the different parts of this mess. I'm just like, for the last week or so, I've been like, why hasn't a judgment come down? This is no...
Pay attention to the dates because I know that those are subject to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that, with the documents that seem to be coming out on a weekly basis, it appears,
right,
that it can't be looking good for Axanar. I have a feeling that even a portion of CBS's motion for summary judgment will be granted on some level. I think there's a hearing coming up the 19th. I could have that wrong, but please don't quote me.
Okay.
But I have to believe that CBS will get part of what they want then.
Yes.
And, at some point, Alec Peters has to face a donor base and tell them, there's no money.
Right.
However he tries to spin it,
whether it's
accounting.
No,
I don't think he will too, because I don't think he has the courage to do that.
Yeah.
But at some point, everybody's going to come to the realization and stop defending the guy and realize that Axanar is not going to be made.
That's one of the things I think that is most aggravating about the situation, and it is because of social media, which we talked about a few minutes ago. It doesn't matter what side of this you were on. I am so sick of the spin. The spin is nauseating. And I have to say, on the Axanar side, there's only so many ways you can look like a fool by continuing to say that these things are really for our benefit and this decision and these details and these unredacted statements are actually good. They're not.
They're not.
They show how horrible the situation was and is. And I'm ready for a decision just so that will stop.
The first rule of when you're in a hole, stop digging.
Oh, God.
Stop digging. I mean, you and I know that. We're not even PR people.
Yeah.
We're husbands. And we know that when you're in a hole, you just stop digging the hole deeper.
Yep.
And I don't think they can help themselves at this point. Or I don't think that the principal in this case can help himself.
Right. It's amazing to me that they don't have a group of people locking him in a bunker somewhere so that he will not continue to do what he does.
You mean like lawyers?
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to call them.
So let's talk about some of the fallout from this case. So we mentioned earlier that one of the other stories rated as a big story in the bottom 5 were the fan film guidelines.
Yes.
We haven't seen many fan films come out since then. Obviously Continues had 2 episodes already produced before the guidelines were dropped.
Right.
Now with some time since the guidelines have been announced, what is your view of them?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say that this is something that I do not agree with what CBS has said. And this is my own personal opinion. I don't have anything to back this up, just me thinking this. I think the fan film guidelines were a direct outcome of the lawsuit. Whether they had been sitting on a shelf for a while and they decided not to do anything or not, I don't know. But they came out during this lawsuit. I think it's a direct relation to the lawsuit. That's my own personal belief. That being said, we have seen fallout from these guidelines already. Star Trek Renegades is no longer Star Trek Renegades. It's just Renegades.
Right.
They've removed any reference to Star Trek. All the uniforms are no longer Starfleet. They have still Star Trek cast in there, but they're not the Star Trek characters. They're just those actors and actresses. So that's one. There's been a couple that have fan productions that have shut down, and they will not continue. So there has been fallout, and it's going to be interesting to see how much more there's going to be.
I do too. I mean, going back to Renegades for a second, they've even taken away Chekhov's name. They don't even give his character name anymore. He's the Admiral.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Not that we were all that excited about Renegades, but
no.
You figure Tommy Kraft's Federation Rising essentially is halted.
Yes.
A series of all the other smaller fan productions have halted. Mm-hmm. There's a couple that have been retooled so as to remove all the Star Trek elements, and I'm fine with that. But personally, I guess I don't have a problem with the guidelines. I don't know that they're bad.
I don't know if they're bad. I just know in my heart that they would not have come out the way they came out.
Right.
If it was not for the lawsuit that's going on.
I can only hope that...
And I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Let me say, if not for the lawsuit going on, and not for the way that the defendants have been dealing with this.
Yes.
If they were dealing with it in a different way, I think this whole thing would be much different. But the principal is who he is, and it's not going to let it go.
I think that instead of blaming CBS and Paramount, if he had just come out and said, okay, you're right, I'm sorry.
Yep.
We'll make changes. I think that we would have seen a much different climate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there would have been fan film guidelines.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's directly tied to this.
Well, that's why we call them the Action Hour rules, and that's why we named that episode the Action Hour rules, because as much as CBS wants to say they're not, they really kind of are.
Yeah.
And that may not have been their intention, but it's kind of hard to separate the two, especially when they came out during this whole process.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, once the lawsuit is over, what happens with those guidelines. Because I'm of the mind that they may not be forever linked to StarTrek.com, so to speak.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that, they've said that they're guidelines. They're not rules or laws. Yeah. This is what you can do to avoid getting a call from their lawyers. That doesn't mean the lawyers are going to call.
Right. That's true. That's absolutely true.
As with any IP holder, they can choose to selectively enforce, whatever they set forth.
Regardless of what some people may say.
That's right. Regardless of what anyone says. I'm sure it will lead to some creativity. I hope it does. I mean, there have already been a couple of shorter films out there that I think have been probably not too bad. It's shown some great love of Star Trek, and I think that that's really what's at the core of all of this.
That's true.
That's what's at the core of most fan films, and not the desire to build your own business.
Right. Exactly.
Like someone may have allegedly done.
Allegedly. And I'll tell you, the other thing that I am tired of hearing is comparison of these guidelines to Star Wars fan films. It is so infuriatingly funny listening to someone try to make this comparison.
The Star Wars ones are far more stringent.
Exactly.
And they're just for the contest.
Yes. People don't seem to understand that. Certain people, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's their problem.
That's true.
Well, let's move on from Axanar and talk about the second biggest story as voted by Camp Kittimer. And that is...
Your favorite.
You love to hear this. Star Trek Beyond!
Yes. We finally got the Star Trek movie in the Kelvin timeline that we've been waiting for.
That's exactly what it is. I saw somebody comment online in Camp Kittimer that it's nice that Star Trek finally has better movies than Star Wars. And comparing Beyond to Rogue One, which I've not yet seen.
Yep.
Rogue One, that is, I haven't seen.
Yes.
And
or Force Awakens.
I saw Force Awakens.
Yes, I know you did.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I know you did.
But I did see it.
Yes.
I'll go see Rogue One of these days, maybe. I was more excited about that than I was. But
you were very excited about it.
Yet we digress.
That's all right.
Star Trek Beyond, arguably one of the biggest stories of the year. Like you said, it gave us the film we finally wanted. You've probably gone back and watched it at least a couple of times since it's come out on home video.
I've probably seen it about 10 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it still hold up for you?
Yeah, it does. It really does. What's interesting to me is that it was quote-unquote disappointing at the box office in terms of numbers, even though it made like $300 million or something, whatever. But with that being said, I really enjoy it. It is finally a Star Trek episode on the big screen.
Yeah.
I really like that. There are some parts that are a little, the very beginning with those little things, the little creatures.
I thought that was hilarious.
It's hilarious, but it was also, if somebody's going to see this movie expecting, this is going to be the movie, that first scene might turn them off a little bit, I thought. But I thought it was a riot.
Yes and no. I mean, I think, in Kirk's monologue or his captain's log during that section after the initial opening of the movie.
I got the coffee mug.
He talks about how their mission has become somewhat episodic. And I thought it was a nice nod to the original series.
Yep.
The original series had some of those lighter moments. And I thought that this was a great way to translate that for this generation and the big screen. I thought that scene was just so well done. I love a good sight gag as much as the next guy. And then when you realize that those things are, as Scotty would say, very wee. that I thought it was just a great open to the movie, especially where the last one was just so serious.
Yes. Dark.
Very dark.
Yeah.
Very dark. I thought that it it did what some of the Star Trek films do when they provide some of these lighter moments. You know, like McCoy in the bar in Star Trek 3 trying to charter a spacecraft.
Yes.
Great scene in a very serious movie, and I think of this scene the same way.
That's a good way to look at it. I don't know if I've looked at it. I've looked at it as this is the first scene. It's even before the Kirk's captain's log.
Right.
So it's like, but it's a great movie. Idris Elba is fantastic. The only thing I didn't like about him is that you don't get to see him until the very end. He's got so much makeup on, and he's such a good actor, and his facial expressions and other films that he's done with his acting have been great. But it was good character development. I love Beyond. I really do.
I do too.
I know that there's been a couple things that we talked about when we did our review that I'm like, I can't remember them right now. But there's always little quirks in movies as you watch it more you'll pick up on. But it's just great. The special effects, I gotta say, this world we live in today, the special effects in movies are just phenomenal. I love what they do with the Enterprise, the Enterprise destruction scene, again in a movie, which I always point out, is still fantastic. It's great. It's good. It's a good movie. It's got everything. It's got drama. It's got action. It's got humor. It's got special effects. And as my sister would say, it's got Chris Pine.
Well, it's also got what the last Star Trek movie in the Kelvin timeline didn't have. It's got heart.
Yes.
Into Darkness, big action movie. You know, it in my mind, it didn't hold up as well as some of the other ones, but this movie has at its core a very human story, and something that draws all of these characters together and bonds them.
Yes.
And binds them.
Yep.
But I think that's probably the thing that separates it or makes it the most like 2009 is that it's got heart.
It does.
You care about what happens to these people. Yeah, it's a bummer to see the Enterprise go down because, you know,
it's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's going to happen.
It seems that it happens in the third Star Trek movie now a lot.
Yes.
But I look forward to see what happens in 4, especially since they're going to bring Chris Hemsworth back as theoretically as George Kirk.
Yes.
Do they merge the timelines back together? Is there some sort of temporal event?
Yeah.
You know, do they go back in time like Star Trek 4 does, albeit to a different place?
Yes.
Because those movies have sort of mirrored each other to some extent.
Yep.
You know, the first movie, New Enterprise. Second movie, Khan. Third movie, Destruction of the Enterprise. Will the fourth movie have some sort of time travel?
And whales.
Well, but no, I mean some other threat.
Exactly. I'll tell you, one of the things that I liked about Beyond, which wasn't done well in A Darkness, was continuity references. Makos, the Enterprise, NX-01 timeline, and the soldiers, and I thought that was great. Now we're in a different timeline, but they still brought it in. I thought that was very well done. I think the writing was very well done, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it continues because there are rumors that he's going to be writing the next one as well.
Yeah, I saw some of those photos on social media. Simon and Doug.
Yeah.
Working, looking like they're writing on something with the little bad robot in front of them. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that could be really good.
Yeah. The other thing I liked about Beyond, Jayla.
Yeah.
I'm
incredibly strong character.
Very strong character. And I'm going to say, if anybody from Bad Robot or Simon or anybody ever hears this, make sure she is in the next movie. Do not just let her go. That was a great character. And I want to see more of Jayla.
What are your hopes for the Enterprise A? Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
There's an Enterprise A.
And I will say, I don't know what did you feel about how the Enterprise A was introduced at the end of Beyond?
I thought it was okay.
It was a little quirky.
Well, no, I didn't think it was quirky. I thought it was...
Too fast?
Well, especially... you mean the time-lapse?
Yeah.
I thought the time-lapse was neat. You know, it was a great way to resolve that piece of it, because obviously they're stuck on Yorktown. They need some kind of ship to continue their 5-year mission. I thought it was convenient it was built at Yorktown.
Yes.
Maybe it was a situation like where at the end of Star Trek 4, they got a new ship. Essentially, it was rechristened, allegedly.
Yes.
Maybe that's the case.
Well, remember, the commander for the Yorktown said that the starship that was in there being built right now is going to be the most powerful starship they had in the fleet.
Right.
And they just decided to name it Enterprise.
Right. I can only hope that they abandon some of the choices that were made in the first couple of Star Trek movies, especially with regards to engineering. And I'm speaking
in the Budweiser plant?
Yeah, the beer tanks. I like beer as much as the next beer drinker, but and maybe they make it a little more spaceshipy.
Yes.
To create an adjective.
And I hope they don't bring the Yorktown back.
And I hope that some of the design choices look a little bit more like Star Trek.
Yes.
Some people called the 2009, introduction to the Enterprise an Apple store because it was so white and stark.
And the bridge especially.
Yes, and I hope they add some more contrast. I hope they make it a little more familiar. And I probably won't get that, but that's just kind of what I hope for the day.
I like that idea.
Okay.
Good.
Well, Dan, it's time to talk about the number one story of the year as voted by Camp Kittimer.
By far.
By far.
By a lot.
Like a lot.
Like a lot.
And that is, of course, the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. You're wearing your Roddenberry 50th anniversary pin on your lapel, even though we're no longer in the 50th anniversary year.
Yeah.
Newsflash. Newsflash. So much to talk about with the 50th anniversary. It was awesome.
It was.
As fans. There's so much more that could have been done, though.
Exactly. And we'll get to a specific part of that in a few minutes, I think. But there was so much from the beginning of the year. For me, as a fan, I was looking forward to the most, I think, is to see the different types of merchandise that was going to be available. And I said to myself at the beginning of the year, I'm going to be a good boy. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to spend all my quatloos. No, wrong. Lots of great stuff. A lot of great merchandise came out for the 50th anniversary. I loved the 50th anniversary logo. I thought that was wonderful. I really am looking forward to see what they do for the 30th anniversary logo for TNG. I hope they do the exact same thing with a TNG communicator in 30 instead of 50 for the TOS. But we'll get to that later on. But I love the merchandise. Got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of stuff.
We did. We got a lot of stuff.
And on a selfish note, the 50th anniversary made for us a wonderful opportunity for podcasting.
It did.
It was so great. Yeah.
It absolutely did. All year long, we got to incorporate that 50th anniversary Delta into the Trek Geeks logo.
Yep.
It was on every album cover that you produced because you do all of our album covers and you do a fantastic job.
Thanks, man.
And it was a little weird this week to go back to the standard Starfleet Delta.
I know.
Don't get me wrong. It's still awesome.
Yes.
But for an entire year, the first full year of our podcast, really, if you think about it,
right,
we had a logo that had the 50th in there, and it was awesome.
Yep.
So I can only hope that, something changes with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great opportunity for us. We got exposed to so much more.
Yes.
We talked about so many different things as a result.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest letdown for you for the 50th?
Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. I think, I'll say it. I think Creation really blew it with Vegas 50th. Now, I know that there was New York, which took place later on that month, I believe, or September. I forget when it was.
September.
But I thought that Vegas has always been considered the biggest convention of the year for Star Trek. At least that's what I've come to believe, and by being there, I tend to agree with that. I've been there twice now. I think it is. I think they really dropped the ball on this 50th anniversary celebration. I think that for the panels that we sat in on the main stage, it was more the same of what we've seen. They didn't do anything Discovery related, which I thought was a travesty. Regardless of whether CBS said you couldn't or not, I don't know why they wouldn't have something to do for Discovery at this convention.
Right.
And I think that, as a result, don't get me wrong, I loved Vegas. I thought it was great. We get to see friends, we meet new friends, we do a lot of fun things. I think the convention aspect in the main room was extremely disappointing.
Yeah, it was, in a sense. I mean, it's always great to see our Star Trek family.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the friends we've known for years or the new friends we've made while we were there, or even our Continues family, because we do think of the Star Trek Continues folks as part of our Star Trek family. Yep. It was so great to see all of those people and catch up and to spend time with people we really only get to see once a year. That was the best part.
Yes.
But you're right, there was a serious ball dropping of sorts.
Yes.
For me, that sort of comes in at number 2.
Ball dropping on New Year's Day.
Like,
that's
thank you. For me, that was kind of takes a second position to the almost lack of response from CBS, the Tiffany Network, on television.
Yes.
On television.
Absolutely. Oh, that's
so
a good
within
point.
the last couple of months, we've seen restored versions of I Love Lucy, colorized versions of I Love Lucy at the Dick Van Dyke Show just a couple of weeks ago. They could have shown the Man Trap on September 8th at 8 or 8:30 or whatever it was in its entirety for that hour, made it a spectacle, maybe taken 2 hours to show the thing with interviews and retrospective or whatever, and really sort of said, you know what, Star Trek is a crown jewel of CBS. You know, let's celebrate the 50th. Let's air the Man Trap.
Yeah.
You know, pay whatever royalties you have to pay.
Well,
you know, if you got to cut a check to Shatner or to the Nimoy estate or the D. Kelly estate or whatever, cut the check.
Yeah. They got the money.
They got the money. Plus, they could have used it as a great advertising platform for Star Trek Discovery.
And CBS All Access.
CBS All Access.
Yes, absolutely.
I felt that as much as CBS put out some great products for the 50th anniversary, I feel like the television network dropped the ball.
Okay.
Big time.
All right. Do you think that, I don't know, this is going to sound weird. It just popped into my head, so I don't know if I'm going to word it correctly. The original series was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I have heard so many people talking lately, whether it be on other podcasts or just casual conversation, where they think of TNG first for Trek, because probably the age difference. Do you think that maybe the 30th is more in their mind a bigger anniversary for television?
No.
Okay.
Because
I don't know.
I don't think they're going to do anything with that.
Okay.
You know, there's no special logo for TNG 30.
No.
Not the way there was for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. When Deep Space Nine 20 happened, or when Voyager 20 happened, there was essentially nothing.
Right.
I don't think that TNG 30 is going to be as big a draw at STLV, for example.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about sellouts.
There were a lot of sellouts. Yeah.
You know, I think that they had a special moment there. They could have even found a way to cross-pollinate it with the movie universe.
True.
You know, because Beyond was scheduled to come out on digital video not long after that.
Exactly.
You know, there was a great marketing opportunity and say, hey, you love this Star Trek.
Yep.
Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah. As so many people have done. As we know people who have discovered the original series because they saw the Kelvin timeline movies first.
True. Yeah, we've heard, people have talked about it. Yep.
We've got 2 examples on Trek 50, our episode alone.
Yes.
Of people who came to Star Trek through the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that was probably the biggest missed opportunity.
Okay. I think Creation did not do New York, correct?
Correct. That was Reed Pop.
I got to wonder if Creation is kind of losing its step with the Trek conventions.
I think that they are focused on doing things the way they've always been done. And I think that's the problem. You know,
mix it up.
I think they need to take some chances. I think that they need to mix it up. They did do some really good stuff, you know, in the main hall with the Women of Star Trek panel and the Star Trek and Shakespeare panel, both of which friends of ours were on.
Yep.
And I think they need to do more things like that. I thought the Roddenberry stage was great.
I think the side stages were really good this year.
Yeah, and I think that they had more compelling content at times than the main theater, which was always, all right, this person was in this episode. Well, it's great and all, but if you've seen these people for years and years and years, and not to take anything away from them, it kind of is like, all right, let's go see what else is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
You know, we did. There were fun things happening on the other stages, things that the fans really seem to love,
and more interactive as well, which I think was important.
Far more interactive.
Match game.
Match game. Trek FM had their own game contest of sorts. You know, which was fun. Yeah. You know, there was daily trivia contests.
Right.
There was, you name it. I think who knows, but I'd like to see some kind of branching out of that this year. I'd love to see more content driven by fans, and I think that's what the Roddenberry stage did very well.
Yes, I think I agree very much. I'm hoping for, again, this year being the 30th coming up, I'd like to see some of what the merchandise plan is.
If there is one. I'm sure there must be.
I've only seen 1 or 2 things so far that are not necessarily 30th anniversary related, but are next gen. So we'll see what happens.
Right. I don't know if they'll go overboard. You know, TNG is a different generation's Star Trek.
Right.
When it came out, we were 18. It actually premiered my 18th birthday weekend. So, you know, there were kids who grew up on TNG. You know, whereas we were like,
shut off that damn noise.
We'll talk about more about that next week. But aside from STLV, what was the best part of the 50th anniversary for you in the merchandise?
Those were the merchandise was my favorite. Beyond has to be right up there, even though we already talked about it. I consider that part of the 50th anniversary. It was planned, I think, from the beginning to have it released during the 50th anniversary year. So I thought that was good. There's just so many aspects of Trek during the past year. But I do selfishly also have to say it allowed us to have great conversations for the entire year. We got to engage in some good conversations with a lot of great people. So I mean, there's so many positive things to talk about for the 50th anniversary.
I think it's only, positioned fandom well for Star Trek's next era.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's generated a lot of excitement for Discovery. I think it's generated a lot of excitement for more Star Trek in general. You've seen, the TNG Mirror comic book is going to be interesting.
Yes.
Some of the novels that are coming out, which are always amazing, look even more amazing.
Yes.
I think that it's rekindled a lot of things for fans. As, in the last year, I'd say our love for TOS has probably been refired.
Absolutely. I'll say it absolutely has been. Yep.
And I think that it's made me go back and watch a lot more TOS, whereas before I would maybe default to DS9 or Next Gen.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to how the universe grows. I look forward to more fans.
Yeah.
I look forward to talking about new Trek.
Yes.
And I think that that's the biggest part of the 50th anniversary for me.
The new Trek aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because we're just on the cusp of that now.
Yep.
It's like you said earlier in the episode, shooting starts this month.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about new storylines and new characters and be able to be at the forefront as fans on this new stuff coming at us.
We're going to be seeing it for the first time along with everybody else, and we haven't been able to say that before.
I know.
Yeah.
For at least 12 years.
Yeah.
By the time Discovery airs.
Right. That's pretty cool.
12 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a great 50th anniversary year. It's been a year that I will always remember for its highs and its lows.
Mm-hmm.
From watching the Man Trap in as a group watch with some of our Trek Geeks listeners online.
That was funny.
To some of the lows.
Yeah.
With the passing of Anton and things along those lines. It's been a year to reflect. It's been a year to be excited about Star Trek again.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that 2017 we're just getting started in the final frontier.
Right. It's going to be a fun journey.
It is. Dan, what's always a fun journey is listening to all of the albums of our friends' 5-year mission. It's 2017. That means we could see year 4 this year.
Yeah. Oh.
I know they've been rehearsing songs. I know they've been playing songs right and left. But our friends, the band 5-Year Mission, they provide all of the music you hear on Trek Geeks. We can't possibly thank them enough.
No,
they are so great to us.
Yep.
And
you.
Well, they're great to me because I'm a de facto member of the band, whether it's honorary or not. And we love their music, and we do truly listen to it all the time.
We do. We love them. We love every single member of the band. I cannot wait for the next one to come out. The next album is going to be fantastic. They have been dropping hints, so we know that it's in the works.
Yeah.
So the other thing I like about 5-Year Mission, is it's a new year, so people have been saying I've been dropping the ball a little bit, not on my game as much.
That's true. Your game has actually sucked.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. All right. Well, I appreciate that, ex post facto member, or whatever the hell you said a minute ago.
Yeah.
So I decided to branch out a little bit to start the new year and not just watch TOS or TNG or whatever. So I was watching an episode of Voyager, Season 1 Voyager, of the special edition that I have.
Do you hate yourself?
A little bit. Tom Paris was convicted of murder on an alien world in this particular episode, and his punishment was to witness all of Dan's Farkisms every 14 hours. Ugh. Ex post facto.
Oh my God.
Check it out. It's a little scary.
I am terrified right now. Ex post facto.
Yeah. On Blu-ray, it's great.
So, translated from Latin, would that be after the Fark?
Whatever you want, man.
Okay. Well, yeah. How long did you stay up thinking of that one?
That was a couple hours, I think.
Do you always write these down? This is the first time you and I have recorded an actual episode in full length. You always... You've got notes in front of you.
I have a spreadsheet on my Google Drive of my farkisms.
You do not.
I do. I will show... No, I shouldn't... I'm sorry, not a spreadsheet, a table with all my farkisms. Yes. I write them all up.
That's fantastic.
And even writing them up, they're still as bad as people say they are, so I'm not doing something right.
Oh, they're horrid. Dan, we want to remind people that they can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes,
yes,
as well as a variety of other places, but we're hoping that people leave us a review on iTunes so that other folks can discover the show.
And Bill, don't be a bore.
So we got an email, and somebody went out of their way to email us and say that the podcast was okay, but that Dan Davidson guy really is a bore, and that you're terrible.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing.
That's all right. I am a bore.
And you're terrible.
I am.
I mean, that's my word.
But I'm not a hater or a drama queen.
No, well, I don't know about that.
You got the crown and the necklace for that.
That's true. So we hope everybody heads out to trekgeeks.com/iTunes. I think we're going to announce next week the winner of the most recent review period.
Mm-hmm.
That'll get them a $25 Amazon.com gift card or the equivalent in whatever country they're in and their Amazon.
Yes.
But we've got one more review period.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody to win $25.
And it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If I'm a bore, tell me I'm a bore, and you could win $25.
You're a bore.
You win $25.
Oh, actually, today I want to... people will hear that coming up what I won today. But, yeah, so trekgeeks.com/iTunes. It's amazing. I closed my iPad, and of course I got my notes for the show on
Next
there.
week.
Next week, Dan.
Yeah. Huh.
Why don't you tell us what we got coming up?
Well, we've talked about it a little bit today, and... it's the 30th anniversary of Star Trek The Next Generation, so why not kick off the year after our year in review episode with TNG 30? So that's what we're going to do.
That is. We're going to talk about a lot of TNG this year. I think we're going to try to focus one episode a month, heavy on TNG at least.
I'm not going to use any contractions during any episode. It's TNG related.
Will you use your arms too?
Yeah, I will have to.
First couple of seasons, Data doesn't walk with his arms. Have you noticed that? And we're going to try to knock out all of the see it or skip it's for TNG this year.
I think that we can do that.
I think we absolutely can. We'll have some special guests helping us with it, and it's going to be a great year. I look forward to it. We're going to talk about Encounter at Farpoint in September for the 30th anniversary, much like we did for the Man Trap on the 50th. So there's a lot to come this year.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
And it's good stuff because it's with you, pal.
See, now I can see your face. I know that you don't believe a word of that.
It's going to say it.
Dan, we want to remind everybody, for more great Star Trek discussions, please visit our friends at the Tricorder Transmissions online at thetricordertransmissions.com. They've got like a bajillion shows over there. There's Shore Leave. There's the flagship show. They do Gold Key Comics. They do the Atavachron series. Well, that's a bajillion.
Okay.
There's more. There's more. If you head on out to the tricordertransmissions.com once in a while, you would know that.
I know that.
Do you? Apparently you don't.
They have a 5-year mission podcast.
They do. What are Little Songs made of? Taking a look at all of the songs on their albums.
There you go.
And the impetus behind them. I know.
I like that.
That's different from impotence, which...
Wow!
And Dan, of course, for all the latest news on everything Star Trek in this upcoming year, we hope you'll head on over to treknews.net. For now, this has been episode 88 of the Trek Geeks Podcast. We do hope you all live long and prosper in this new year.
You too. And this one's for Paul.
You no think you greater than the Gungans? Me like this. Maybe we being coconut.
How's the mic on that one?
You blew that level away. Okay, we're recording. Do you want to do this now?
Okay.
So it's gift exchange time.
It is. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We're a little late.
Yeah.
But we knew we were getting together today. This is actually the first time we've recorded together in the same room, not in Vegas.
Right. Vegas is more of a, hey, this is what we're doing today thing. This is a real podcast.
Well, it's you and me, so I don't know that I call it a real podcast.
This is an official numbered Trek Geeks thing.
Episode. I think it's called an episode.
An episode. But yeah, this is kind of cool.
So I'll let you go first.
Okay.
And good luck getting into it.
All right. And I like the Lego paper, folks. It's a Lego paper, and it's got tape over every freaking inch of this thing.
Not just tape. It's packing tape.
It's got packing tape. Is this a joke?
Would that constitute a joke?
I'm going to have to bite it.
So,
bite this, please.
One time for Christmas, my wife and I got my sister a Keurig coffee maker. And we decided to make it as tough to open as humanly possible. So my wife went through 2 rolls of packing tape, wrapping the entire box, including the handle, because the handle had the Keurig logo on it.
Yes.
And so when wrapping this last night, I said, I'm going to make this a challenge. So, what's that?
A pen? So I can stab it?
Are you going to stab me in the neck?
That's not going to work. Is there one spot that's like hidden?
Maybe.
Okay.
And it is somewhat fragile. So don't Conan that thing off the bulkhead.
Well, that's going to happen in a minute. Off the bulkhead. Do you want to start yours while I'm doing this? Because this could take a while.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, you do yours.
See, mine's wrapped nicely. I'm not a jerk like you are.
Wow. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
If that weren't wrapped like, it was going to survive a flood, would you rip the wrapping paper off, or are you the kind of person that tears it off neatly?
I'm a neat tearer.
Are you really?
Yeah, and for up until recently, I was I think this is a blank. And it drives my wife nuts.
Really?
So I haven't done it for a couple of years.
Do you do your own ribbon? Because I noticed my package has some lovely Santa Claus wrapping paper, which I really think is cool, and ribbon. So I know you iron your own underwear. You also do your own ribbon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you just admitted to ironing your own underwear.
I didn't catch that.
Dan is going to look for some scissors.
I've got a screwdriver right
here. Screwdriver?
All right. So, yeah, we thought it'd be kind of cool to gift exchange on the podcast because you're a special kind of guy.
It's jerk? Is that what you're going to say?
You can't tell that. I can't tell if there was or not.
Your ribbon was very nicely done, by the way.
Well, I appreciate that. Sue taught me how to wrap nicely. Hey, I got it. There we go.
I'm a terror.
You're a jerk, man. All right, you can hear the paper unfurling.
No way!
Oh, boy. He got his first. I told you he would.
Holy crap! Dan got me the official Star Trek Bluetooth communicator TOS style. Dude, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Dude, it is my pleasure. You have done so much for the podcast, and that's just one way of me telling you that you are the executive producer.
Because I have an official communicator.
You do.
Oh, dude, this is amazing. Thank you.
Hey, it is my pleasure. I hope you enjoy it. I have played with Dana, a friend at work, who
right.
let me try his out. It's very cool. I think you're going to enjoy it. I
am sure I will. If you ever get that open, I hope you enjoy that.
I'm trying to not break it, but I'm going to crush it over your face in about 2 seconds. Okay, folks, just to let you know, I've got one corner open so far.
And I didn't just put one layer of wrapping paper on.
No.
I wrapped it several times.
You didn't. Wow. Okay, I want to take that communicator back, I think.
It's too late now. It's mine.
All right, I'm getting close. There we go. You can hear the packing tape is really going out now. Okay, now it is the box. I have the box.
There might be tape on the lid. I didn't want the box to come open. Well, just rip the box.
I'm ripping the box. I'm not even going to worry about it. All right, what is this here?
And there's bubble wrap.
What is this? There's bubble wrap as well. Oh my goodness. It is this is from Roddenberry.com, correct?
Yeah, it is.
This is the Roddenberry.com Star Trek watch. The face is the saucer section, and the band is the warp nacelle painting scheme. That is freaking awesome, man. I got myself a new watch, people, so I can tell you when I'm going to be late.
I was given the same thing.
There you go.
By my wife.
There you go. Nice.
So
we can be wrist buddies.
I know we're wrist buddies. I haven't told #wrist buddy. I haven't told people about this because I didn't want you to see that and go, oh,
nice,
and order it yourself because I know you've done that with other things.
I have. I actually was if you remember when we were out in Vegas and we did the match game,
Yeah.
the girl who won a watch.
Oh, did she?
And I was unsure what the watch was like or the cost or whatnot, so I actually was communicating with our friend John Champion, and he told me all about it and sent me a link, and it was something I was looking at, but I didn't pull the trigger.
Well, the backing, you'll notice, is totally taken up with space. I mean, there's names, there's model numbers.
Yep.
It was my hope to get it engraved, but I wanted to give you something special for the 50th
awesome,
anniversary year of Trek. We both have a vast love for TOS.
Yep.
And, every time hopefully you put that on, you'll know how much the podcast and you mean to me and how much I value your brotherhood over the years.
Well, thanks, man. I feel exactly the same way, and whenever you're flipping that communicator on to call me to tell me what a jerk I am, I hope you'll remember that.
Spock, I think Dan's a jerk.
It works great. So, yeah, thanks, man. That is awesome. That's beautiful.
Oh my God, my wife. I can't believe my wife kept this secret.
The casing for that is amazing.
I mean, no, I can believe she kept it secret, but I'm sure she's dying to tell me.
I'll tell you
it's even
what.
got a holster?
Oh, yeah, they're being wheeled down the corridor. And he goes, you know what's going to happen? He's going to pop out and go, I'm James D. Kirk of Starship Enterprise. My dad impersonated William Shatner, and it was a little scary.
I'm trying to picture him doing that. That's a riot.
So, yeah. So there you go. Thanks, man. This is great.
Thank you, buddy. Happy New Year, and here's to the best in 2017.
You got it. Absolutely.